And so I'm moving around. But before that, the nigga Meech sent another Mexican at me that was a government informant, confidential source. I didn't know that the nigga was bad, but when I meet him, he rubbed me the wrong way. You feel me?
Right.
And so I bag up both of them. But come 2018, when we get the discovery, I find out that he was an agent, and that a confidential source had introduced us to. Who introduced me to him? Nobody, nothing other than Big Meech. Nothing came out of that because he rubbed me the wrong way. He got to talking about who caused this, man. Is it paid for? So it just rubbed me the wrong way. Right. I didn't think he was a police or anything. I didn't think he was a police, but he was just weird. You feel me?
Right. Action weird.
Fast forward to 2018.
Got you.
Fast forward to 2018. That's in the DEA 6 reports that a confidential source introduced me to that confidential source. Who was the confidential source?
It can only be one person. The person who introduced you to him, and you know who introduced you to him.
Yeah.
Salute to everybody in the building. You already know the vibe. We got Cuffy Gatling, Big Meech, Snitch. We see a lot of that online. The talks are saying Cuffy snitched, Meech snitched. Then we got Cuffy's waiver of indictment and plea hearing, the details revealed here. So we're going to be getting into the details of this said paperwork right here. Cuffy Gatling's waiver of indictment plea hearing. There's some talk online about Cuffy Gatling, his plea, and him snitching. Now I've seen some other rumblings, and they're talking about some of these things here. They're talking about the waiver of indictment. They're talking about before you go about pleading, there's a hearing that go about all of those things, and you waive the indictments and all of these things that happen. And they said, or a few people are saying, when they went back in that said paperwork, they were seeing like maybe Cuff possibly snitched, but they're saying positively like Cuffy snitched. So we've been hearing a lot of that. I know I've been hearing a lot of that. If you've been hearing a lot of that, drop a 1 in the chat. Just drop a 1 just for that. Just drop 1 because I know you've been hearing a lot of that too. So here on Go, you know what we do. We're not on our opinion here. This is not called On Our Opinion. This is called On Go. I'm Uda. My name is not Uda On Go. My name is Uda. I'm on Go. You're on Go. And we're on Go together. And that's what makes this channel great. Because that's how we're going to get back together if we go together. So salute to all of y'all for that. All right. Look, Simon's outside, man. Let us go together. So listen, we are going to be going through a breakdown. I want everybody to make sure they dropping likes. This is a paperwork read. This is a paperwork read. And when I'm doing my paperwork reads, man, I just like for y'all to drop likes because I don't really want to keep telling y'all to drop likes. And we're reading and we're just getting the information. And that's what I'm doing. Some people are just going to give you 3 pieces of paper, 4 pieces of paper, make an hour-long video. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get you the information. Hopefully you like it. That's what I'm saying. That's how I do it. I just do it and just say, hopefully I don't be like, yo, let me drain y'all straight. I don't be trying to do all of that. I mean, like real talk, straight up. Go through my videos and see if I'm capping to you. I'm not here to lie to any of y'all. Honestly, I swear to God. So salute to everybody. Make sure y'all drop a like, share this video to any of your channels, any of your platforms, and subscribe to all the channels that's linked to my channel. I appreciate y'all all. You already know the vibes. My Cash App is in the description box and it's on the screen. So that's for all the people that always message me, brother, what's up, brother? I want to support you, brother. All right, brother. All right, sisters. It's right there. So salute to all of y'all. All right. So boom. So let's get to this, right? This is the waiver of indictment. So we're going to have to get into this now, man. It seems like when we get to around page 30 something is probably when we're going to get crazy. You know what I mean? Crazy. But real talk, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna zoom it so that y'all can see the paperwork even better. Right? You do that. I could even do it. Nah, I'm not doing that. You know what? Hold up, wait, y'all. Let me do this the right way. I could do it like this too, though. This ain't bad, right? I could do it like this. Boom. All right, let me move this off the screen, though. This Cash App thing. Boom. right? This ain't bad. This ain't bad. All right, cool. Let me zoom it and make it look a little bit better. This is it. Boom, right? Boom. That's it right there. Let me see. Boom. All right. Let's just make sure we Gucci. All right, cool. We Gucci. I think we good like that. NYLA podcast. This is what this podcast is called. NYLA. You already know. Shout out to NY. Shout out to LA. So let's get into this paperwork. God bless my words. Got me. Got to protect my people. Got to protect y'all. You already know the vibes. Back with another one when there ain't no other ones. All right. They go into the proceedings. The following proceedings were held in an open court with the defendant present, and they go into it. Right. This is his case number. Would counsel make their appearances? You know, the counsel's going to go through their, you know what I mean, their motions. They're going through it. The court, everybody's meeting each other again for the first time again. Hey, y'all, what's going on? What we here for? You already know we here for the plea agreement. That's all being done in conjunction with the filing of the guilty plea agreement because he's filing a guilty plea. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Okay, Assistant District Attorney. So, Mr. Gatling, I'm sure you understand. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions today. If at any time I ask you a question and for whatever reason you're not sure, you understand what I'm asking you, will you promise me that you'll tell me that? And I will repeat or rephrase my question until it's clear that you understand and that you and I understand each other. The defendant, Gatling, says yes. The court says, we're not in no hurry. The purpose of saying that is if they're going to go to the fluff. Okay, I'm just showing you that. Is Gatling here? They're talking in, boom, boom, boom. He's about to get sworn in by the clerk, right? So we going in. Make sure y'all dropping likes. Give y'all a moment. Double digits the likes. We got to start off on double digits. Come on, y'all. We got to do this positive. We really trying to just get to the information. I'm really not a cloud chaser. I really just be trying to get to the information and see what the hell's going on. You know, I'm not really with the content plays and all that stuff. All right, cool. Let's zoom in the paperwork, Max, so that y'all can see the paperwork even better. Right? Here we go. Let's run through this paperwork as best as we could. It's going to be a round one. All right? Boom. By the court. So you understand, sir, that you have now been sworn and that your answers to my questions are subject to the penalties of perjury if you do not answer them truthfully. Yes, sir. The first series of questions I'm going to ask you are to establish that you are competent to make the decisions you're making today. How old are you? 50 years old. What's the highest level of education you've completed? A GED. So you didn't have any trouble reading the plea agreement? Answer, no, sir. Do you have a doctor or physician you see on a regular basis? Ms. Trog, well, Your Honor, if I may, then they're going to go into their breakdown. St. Mary's Hospital facilities, he was going through things, I think, with sarcoidosis and things like that. Shout out to him with that. You know what I mean? That's a real rough one. For real, I just read that in the paperwork. This is how deep I'm going into the paperwork, is that I read that he was suffering from something like that. You know, my heart goes out to him for that. You know what I mean? Most definitely my heart goes out. You know what I mean? Because my family is also dealing with that same illness. You know what I mean? Trust me. And it's out of 100,000 people get sarcoidosis. I've done a lot of history on it, brother. Trust me, man. So my heart goes out to you with that. So physicians in St. Mary and through the various facilities where he's been detained, Your Honor. So he's been under the care of physicians, but he doesn't have one particular physician by the court. So you're going to go through the breakdown. Okay. Have you had chronic or long-term illnesses? Yes, sir. We understand that asthma also ran in his family. It's just me doing my own history. I've done so much reading on these things, man. RIP to his brother, Wani Duran Gatlin, also who died of an asthma attack while in prison, incarcerated. They say incarcerated, then in another paperwork, they said he was not incarcerated and he was like in a halfway house. I don't know, man. You ain't free. You still incarcerated, bro. That's it. So that's how much I'm reading the paperwork, so much so that I didn't understand even his brother and two things that was written in a couple of paperworks. One said that he was in prison and one said that he was in a halfway house. but still no, he's not free the way he would want to be free. So regardless of the fact, RIP to that brother Magic, Wani, also known as Magic. Yeah, man, RIP to that brother, man. You know what I mean? Heard nothing but good things about the brother, man. So RIP to that brother, Cuffy Gatling's brother. Yes, sir. What would that be? It's called sarcoidosis. See what I said? Yeah. I read this in another paperwork, not even in this one. That's what's crazy. Are you taking any prescription medications for that? Yeah, prednisone, right? It's called prednisone. Are you taking the prednisone as prescribed? That is in the correct dose at the correct time of day? Yeah, it's twice. I mean, twice daily, sir. You're taking it as prescribed. As prescribed, yes, sir. When you take it, does it affect your ability to think clearly? No, sir. Okay. Any other medications you're taking? I'm asthmatic. I take steroid and a butyrol inhaler as needed or on a regular basis. On a regular basis. Okay. And do those medications affect your ability to think clearly? No, sir. Any other medications beyond that? No, sir. Any medications you're supposed to be taking, but for some reason you're not taking it? No, sir. Are you under the care of any of a psychiatrist or a psychologist? No, sir. Have you ever been under the care of any type of mental health care provider? No, sir. Other than the medicine you've told us about, have you taken any drugs or medicines or drunk any alcohol in the last 24 hours? No, sir. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol as you stand here right now today? No, sir. Do you understand what's happening today and why you're here? Yes, sir. The court. Does the attorney for the United States Attorney's Office or the attorney for Mr. Gatlin have any doubt as to his competency? No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. It is my finding that Mr. Gatlin is competent to proceed by the court. I'm going to ask you some questions now, sir, about your right to be indicted, but your decision to consenting to the filing of an information. You understand you have constitutional right to be charged by an indictment of a grand jury, but you may waive that right and consent to being charged by an information which is filed by the United States Attorney. Yes. You're aware that instead of a grand jury indictment, the felony charges in this case will be brought against you by the United States Attorney by the filing of an information. Yes. You understand if you do not waive indictment, you may not be charged with a felony unless a grand jury finds that there is probable cause to believe that a crime has been committed and that you committed it. Yes. So you are aware that if you do not waive indictment by the grand jury, the United States Attorney may request the grand jury to indict you. Yes. You're aware that the grand jury is composed of at least 16, but not more than 23 persons, and at least 12 of the grand jurors must find that there is probable cause to believe that you committed the crime which you're charged before you may be indicted. Yes, sir. So you understand if you waive indictment by the grand jury, the case will proceed against you on the information just as though you had been indicted by the grand jury. Yes, sir. The court. And I have in front of me written waiver, counsel. They have the waiver. Do you know any of the questions? Do you know any of the reasons why Mr. Gatlin shouldn't waive his right to be indicted? No, I do not, Your Honor. Mr. Trog. I think that's this attorney. This attorney. And you've discussed the waiver issue with your attorney. Is that correct, Mr. Gatlin? Yes, sir. And you believe you understand your right to be indicted by the grand jury. Is that correct? That's correct. And did you read this document before you signed it? Yes, sir. And you went over it with your attorney? Yes, sir. And she answered all your questions? Yes, sir. Is that your signature on the top line, sir? Yes, sir. Is it your desire to waive the indictment by the grand jury and have me execute this and consent to the filing of an information? Yes, sir. The court. It is my finding that the waiver of indictment is knowingly and voluntarily made by Mr. Gatlin, and I will execute the waiver. And Mr. Riley, would you now explain to Mr. Gatlin the charges pending against him by the filing of an information? Yes, Your Honor. And just to supplement the record, and explain the charges in the information. The information, the third, what we'll refer to as the third superseding criminal investigation in this case operates to Mr. Gatlin's benefit. This is what allows him to plead guilty in a way which he's not facing mandatory life sentence were he to plead guilty as this was previously charged or be convicted at trial. Let me read that again. This is what allows him to plead guilty in a way which he's not facing a mandatory life sentence were he to plead guilty as this was previously charged or be convicted as at a trial. It's what allows for the disposition in this case and the parties to make the recommendation that we're going to make to the court, and the plea agreement has been agreed to by the parties. This case is going, it's long, it's dragging. Well, they're making a plea to say, you know what, this trial could be going a year longer, because they said when the defendants pleaded guilty in this trial, they said that it saved them at least, it saved them at least a year off the trial. Okay. So the trial would have been finishing like 2020 or something like that. You know what I mean? It's crazy. But I'm just thinking about that. You know what I mean? Salute to everybody in the building. Make sure y'all dropping your likes. Make sure y'all doing that. All right, cool. This is how we doing this thing. All right. This is how we doing this thing. It's a full paperwork read. And we just breaking this thing down. This is how we doing it. All right. Boom. Sometimes you want to see me. I can see. All right, cool. Sentence if we pleaded previously a trial. Okay, it is what allows it in disposition in the court and all the parties. Okay. So specifically under the first superseding indictment, the defendant was charged in count 6 with a violation of 15 through 18. And section 2 in relation to the unaliving of Theodis Howard as retaliation for his previous cooperation. This is Theodis Howard had cooperated in a case against his brother, and this is the whole reason of why this whole situation happened with Theodis Howard, because I guess they felt that if he was gone, then whatever, you know what I mean, information, so him being useful as an informant wouldn't be that useful anymore, right? The defendant was also charged in count 9 of the first superseding indictment with violation of the Title 18 United States Code sections 1512 A 1 and C, right? In relation to the unaliving of Terrence Morgan, who was the next person who was unalived in the alley in St. Louis. Theodis was unalived going to a clinic, like a medical office, and he was approached outside by 3 men. And this is where we'll get down into all of these things with the people with the 3 men as well. And this is where we're going to get into as well. But Terrence Morgan, to prevent him from communicating with federal investigators or federal law enforcement authorities, both of those were punishable by mandatory life. The effect of this criminal information is to, among other things, is to allow the defendant to plead guilty to a single violation of 18 United States codes that go into, in which both M's unalivings of Theodis Howard and Terrence Morgan are referenced in that single violation of 18. Okay, which carries with it a mandatory penalty of 10 years, minimum of 10 years, not more than life, consecutive to all other counts in the indictment. So the effect of this superseding information, which I'll now go through, is substantially to Mr. Gatling's benefit of what's happening here with this whole plea and how they're doing this thing. They're saying this is to his benefit that he should be, I guess, doing this, because he'd be doing life and all this other stuff. Count 1 charges that the defendant did combine, conspire, and confederate with other persons known and unknown. They're listed in the indictment within the Eastern District of Missouri between 2009 and 2015 to commit an offense against the United States, that to distribute and possess with intent to distribute cocaine. And he did this with with Timothy Rush, Andre Rush, Lorenzo Gibbs, his 3 co-defendants. Account 2, a Schedule 2 controlled substance. It also alleges a quantity allegation that was 5 kilograms of more. That's count 1. But remember, these kilograms are fake drugs, because Cuffy was caught in a reverse DEA sting where the officers is the ones that had to work, and they set him up to buy, not to buy, but for them to front him 2 kilograms first of heroin first, and after the 2 kilograms of heroin, then they set him up to go to pick up 10 more bricks supposedly, but they said they had an extra 5. This is all fake work as well. Sham cocaine, sham heroin. He's supposed to pick up 15 bricks. This is when Timothy Rush and Lorenzo Gibbs are arrested, apprehended, but yet Timothy Rush is arrested. Lorenzo Gibbs is last seen walking to an IHOP at this point. And they take the car, which the officers was given to them to say that they had secret compartments in the car, and they snatched the car and the supposed drugs. But now we got like 17 bricks, 2 bricks of dog food and 15 of yay. You know what I'm saying? So now they convert all the drug weight to 5,000 kilograms because it's fake, imaginary work. It's a conspiracy that you were going to sell this drugs and you were going to buy it or you were going to get it. So now they convert the 15, 17 bricks into 5 kilograms or more. So now that's you're charged with 5 kilograms of real drugs now. So that's how the feds work. So boom. In which Cuffy says that he was set up to get all of that because the first thing when they did the 2 bricks of heroin and they locked up Timothy Rush with the 2 bricks of heroin supposedly in the car, in the Cadillac truck. You know what I mean? When they did that, they made him feel like the Mexican cartel was going to be on him. The agents is like, yo, listen, man, you got to pay back the $110,000 plus the $60,000 Cadillac cost. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? You know what I mean? Nah, man. I mean, so he feeling like people going to be on him trying to kill him. So now this is why he said, all right, cool, I'll take the. Then they came up with a plan to say, yo, look, all right, man, we're going to front you 10 more. Better yet, 15 more and give us back our bread. So he's saying basically he had never did this deal, but they forced him into this deal, bro, by threatening them basically with, because they didn't have to. They already had the 2 guys that they locked up. Whatever. They had them locked up for the 2 bricks. Okay, cool. He didn't have to do another deal for 15 bricks. They put him in the deals and put him in a bind saying that the Mexican cartel was looking for him. It's crazy. I'll go through them to reference there how this correlates to the previous indictment, that the previous count of this old indictment. Listen, make sure everybody is dropping the like. Dropping the like. Dropping the like. Yeah, it's cool. So, count 2 of the superseding information, criminal information, alleges a heroin distribution conspiracy for the same time frame reference as before. So I'm telling you about the heroin. It also alleges a quantity allegation that was at least a kilogram of heroin that the parties conspired to possess with the intent to distribute or distribute. Same word. Distribute or redistribute, probably. And that parallels count 3 in the superseding indictment from July of 2015. You see what I'm saying about the 2 bricks of heroin. Okay, so this is how they was all set up, and they was set up by the Atlanta DEA in conjunction with other branches as well. This all took place. This whole deal took place in Memphis. You know what I mean? The whole thing took place in Memphis, and it was all about the 2 bricks. You know what I mean, of heroin. And when they bagged them, they forced him, basically saying they forced his hand to do this deal, which was for the for the cocaine, and cocaine was 15 bricks. So that's what sent him up the river, basically. Count 3. In the criminal information was previously designated as count 4 in the superseding indictment. Count 3 relates to an attempt to possess with the intent to distribute 5 kilograms or more of cocaine that occurred between February. Okay, cool. Do I got to read this? We've been reading this every day. So I'm just going to skip through some of this, okay? Because we done read this. Okay? It's going to show you the count, the drugs. This is the case. This is the counts. Okay? And now the new count with Terrence Morgan in them, okay? So we're going to start from here. Now, the new count, which were previously two separate violations of Section 18, charged in retaliation to correspond with the unalivings of Theodis Howard and Terrence Morgan, in addition to count 6 and 9, which I previously referenced. So we've taken the two separate 924 violations, because he has a 924C and a 924J violation, and alleged them in a single count. So now these two 924 cases are one count. Okay. See, in some videos, I think I was saying like he's getting a 924J and a 924C, and he's basically getting the 17 years for this. But these were both collapsed into one count. Okay. Again, they say this is to Mr. Gatling's favor. So why are they doing all these things for Mr. Gatling? Like, why they got all these favors for him if he's on life and he's facing life or death and all these other things? You know what I'm saying? This is the questions that people are posing. Sound like something? I don't know. Could be something there. I don't know. Because they're making a lot of benefits to him. But like I'm saying, also as well, you have to take into considerations that this trial is going so long. One, they want Cuffy so bad, too, that they'll do anything to get him, and they just want him to plea anyway. You know what I'm saying? We have to take that into consideration, too. Cromer especially wanted this guy bad. Bad. So we have to keep that in our mind, too, bro. Like Cromer, I mean, there was a lot of shady dealings going on up there in the DA. There's a lot going on, bro. It's a lot. Make sure y'all dropping likes. Make sure y'all sharing the video. You already know the vibes. Make sure that you notify them.
All my niggas from the Hooters. All my niggas turn shooters. Hooters. All my ops turn racks. All my niggas turn shooters. On the internet, you ain't been this right. You been stuck in a computer. Show me.
Yeah, man. So, and this count alleges that between April 5th, okay, because this is with Fidel Suarez and all of this, because all of that big conspiracy, the drug conspiracy that they allege that Big Meech arranged the whole thing, and this is Cuffy Gatling's big beef that Big Meech is his unindicted co-conspirator, because he wasn't indicted, he's his unindicted co-conspirator. And this count alleges that between April 5th of 2010 and May 2nd of 2013 in the Eastern District of Missouri, the defendant Dion Lamont Gatling, aiding and abetting and acting with others known and unknown in the United States, including Andre Alfonso Rush, also known as Dirty Andre, did knowingly possess one or more magnetos in furtherance of the commission of a drug trafficking crime, which can be prosecuted in the United States or in a court of United States. That the conspiracy to distribute, basically this references the 4 counts that are currently charged in this criminal information that I've just outlined, that he, acting with order, possessed magnetos in furtherance of all of those offenses, and in the course of these violations caused the deaths of Theodis Howard and Terrence Morgan through the use of one or more of these weapons. But they say he acted and possessed. So at the time, because they saying basically Cuffy was in the car when the thing happened. And when he was in the car, when it happened, I guess Andre Rush pointed them out. Like Rush pointed the people out, pointed them out. I'm talking about Theodis Howard, pointed them out, and then all of these things happened. You know what I mean? Did he possess a weapon? You know what I'm saying? Did he have a weapon on him? Because Cuffy also said that he got caught up with his co-defendant's statements. We also understand that Andre Rush confessed as well. So I'm going through a lot, and I'm breaking out Andre Rush as well. I already did some videos on Andre Rush as well. So I'm just not covering the stories like people. They're just going through one thing, Tammy, Jack. I mean, Keith. No, I do my little 1-2 things on that. But we going through everybody, the mindsets of everyone. That's what we're going into. Consistent with the previous allegations in the superseding indictment, this alleges a violation of Section 924C, right, and the 924J. That's the charges that I told you. There's also an allegation in the course of the violation that the defendant, acting with others, caused the unaliving of a person through the use of magnetos, which is the unaliving as a emmer, as defined in Title 18. Rush, also known as Dirty, and Dre, with malice and aforethought, on lawfully unalive Theodis Howard on or about April 5, 2010, and Terrence Morgan on about May 2nd, man. He was outside, bro. This guy, Rush, was dead serious. On May 2nd, 2013, and that the defendant aided and abetting and acting with others, including Andre Rush, caused the unaliving of each victim with one or more magnetos willfully, deliberately, maliciously, and with premeditation, thereby making this offense punishable under Title 18. And they go into the 924J because the use of the weapon, the furtherance of a drug trafficking crime. That's what's alleged in the superseding information, Your Honor. Okay, they're going to court. So, Mr. Gatling, you understand the charges now pending against you? Yes, sir. Do you understand that because this is a criminal case, that you have the right to be represented by an attorney at all stages of the proceeding, and if for any reason you're unable to afford an attorney, one is appointed to represent you at the expense of the United States? Yes, sir. Have you had enough time to discuss your case with your attorney? Yes. Are you satisfied with her representation of you in this case? Yes. The next series of questions I'm going to ask you is about your rights that you're giving up by pleading guilty. You understand that if you plead not guilty, you are entitled to a speedy and public trial by judge or by jury. Yes. And you understand that the trial presumed innocent. Yes, yes, yes. Go through the fluff. And you understand trial attorney fluff, pleading guilty, waiving your right to trial, waiving your right against the self-incrimination. Has anyone threatened you? All those things they're asking you. Yes, sir. Did you go over it with your attorney? Okay, sentencing won't take place for several months. It will be made before your sentence. What happens between now and then is a pre-sentence report is prepared. That report will discuss the facts of your case and apply the sentencing guidelines to those facts. You understand that? Yes. And you've talked to your lawyers about those guidelines, yes, and how they work. Yes. The report will also make a calculation on the sentences table as to what the recommended sentence is. Yes, sir. Do you understand that? Yes. Let's cut through the fluff. Any objections, determine their departure for motions. Criminal counsel, okay, pursuant to local, a bench conference was held. They went to the bench and was talking about some stuff. They was under seal, but now it's open. Finally, sir, there's a statute that lists a number of factors I'm required to consider before I can determine the appropriate sentence in your case. You understand that? Yes, sir. Let's go over your plea agreement, okay? The plea agreement, okay? This is what we're going to go over. This is where we start. Page 17. This is what we got. The plea agreement says you've agreed to plead guilty to the 5 counts of the superseding information. You understand that? Yes, sir. And you understand that what's in your plea agreement, these are recommendations to me. I'm not required to follow what's in the plea agreement. So in this plea agreement, they've made recommendations to the judge. Okay. And he said he's not required to follow that. Yes, sir. I mean, we understand, and I understand that there's a joint recommendation. I mean, both parties from both sides are recommending that we do this thing and probably get this trial over, said and done with, and then probably satisfied with what the outcome's going to be with the time served, the time these people are getting. A recommendation that I impose a sentence of 27 years, but I'm not required to follow that agreement. Do you understand that? Yes. So they came up with this number 27. But if I sentence you consistent with that agreement, you've agreed to not appeal that sentence that's imposed other than a disagreement you might have about your criminal history. Yes, sir. So this is why they go through all these motions to make sure that you don't appeal these things when we're going through all this. Did anybody force you? And they go through all of this breakdown from the whole beginning because we don't want to go through this again. Once we go through this plea, you're done. Ain't no appealing this and all that. We ain't doing that. You've also agreed not to file any motions, see what I'm saying, to suppress all this stuff, or lawsuits challenging how your case had been handled, except for your claim that you have for misconduct by the prosecutor or ineffective assistance by your attorney. Yes. You've agreed to give your probation officer access to any financial information they ask for you. Yes, sir. If property seized by law enforcement officials, go through that, right? Now, beginning on page 22, in this, there is a discussion about how it's proposed the guideline will work in your case for the purpose of the guidelines. Count 1 through 4 are grouped, and the recommended base offense level is a 32. You understand that? Yes, sir. And when we convert the heroin and the cocaine so that we can compare them and add them together, we convert them to marijuana, and that conversion results in 3,000 to 10,000 kilograms of marijuana, and that's how we determine the 32. That's crazy. Okay, that's how they convert the fake drug weight into real drug weight, by comparing it to marijuana weight. Wild. I didn't even know how they did that. That's crazy. I just found that out. Yes, sir. It's recommended that 3 levels be added because you were an organizer or leader of 5 or more persons in a criminal activity. You understand that? Yes, sir. Up to 3 levels will be subtracted from your acceptance of responsibility in a timely fashion. So there's going to be subtracted 3 levels of that. Is going to be retracted from. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. As a result, it's recommended for those counts, the final total offense level is a 32. As to count 5, the base level offense is a 43. You understand that? Yes, sir. Again, we have a reduction of 3 levels for an estimated final total of 40. Do you understand that? Yes. And you finally understand that it's your agreement with the United States Attorney to recommend that I impose a sentence of 17 years on count 5 to run consecutive to any sentence imposed on the first 4 counts that you're going to have. So that's the 17 years for all of the weapons. That's all you got, 17 years for that, right? Yes, sir. All right. Now, for you to have been found guilty on count 1, the United States Attorney would have to have proved beyond a reasonable doubt, and I should back up. Wait, there's no agreement as to what your criminal history is or how it's to be treated by the guidelines. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. For you to have been found guilty on count 1, the United States Attorney would have to have been proved you beyond a reasonable doubt that you and others reached an agreement or came to an understanding to distribute a mixture of substances containing cocaine. You voluntarily, knowingly, intentionally joined that agreement, either at the beginning or the later time, while it was still ongoing, and you got involved when you knew what was the purpose of the agreement and understanding was, and the quantity of yay was more than 5 kilograms. Do you understand that? Yes. If you don't believe the U.S. Attorney could prove those things beyond a reasonable doubt, you should not plead guilty to count 1. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. As to count 2. They have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that you and others have reached an agreement, mixture of substances and all those things, the kilogram of 1 gram of the heroin. Do you understand that? Okay. Do you understand that? Yeah. Count 3. They're going to go into the count 3. Mixture of substances, heroin, whatever, cocaine, whatever. Fluff. He distributed. Count 5. Prove beyond a reasonable doubt you committed conspiracy to distribute. Boom. Aiding and abetting with the drugs. Look, possess the firearm further into those crimes. Heroin, cocaine charge, knowingly. Boom. Yeah, ain't no duppies yet. Nah. Boom. All right. Aiding and abetting others and knowingly use fire to do Terrence Morgan. So did they mention Theotis up here? Maybe make sure I ain't past Theotis. Oh, yes, they did. He used firearms to and it's proved knowingly possessed the firearm in furtherance of those crimes. You aided and abetted others acting together, knowingly discharged. You know what I'm saying? Because Andre Rush is the person who's in his case, right? He got 25 years. And you know what I mean? So it's all about making sense right here, right? So let's go. Theotis Howard, Terrence Morgan. Do you understand that? And you, okay, so they're talking about if they could believe, they're still talking about if they could prove it and what you know. I mean, anything you get plead guilty, no, sir. Are you pleading guilty to protect somebody and all that stuff? Okay, boom. Right. And judge, if I may, before consistent with our agreement, I would ask you to withdraw previously filed criminal information seeking enhanced punishment that imposed a 15-year mandatory minimum as to what would count would be, because they were trying to give him more time. The memorandum with the plea paperwork. Okay. He conspired. They're going through some of that. He conspired. Knowingly strike that. Defendant Deion Gatling, knowing the purpose of that agreement, conspiracy, joined it while in that effect. Mr. Gatling was the leader. The mixture of substances. The defendant conspired with individuals including Fidel Suarez, Lorenzo Tall, Dog, Orino Gibbs, Terrence Black Morgan, and nephew, who was another drug dealer associated with Terrence Black Morgan, and the Gatling DTO, Andre, also known as Dre and Dirty Rush, Tim, also known as Professor Rush, and others to comprise the Gatling DTO. The goal of the DTO was to obtain bulk distribution quantities of controlled substances, including cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines, and marijuana by purchasing the substances in large quantities to receive bulk discounts. In turn, the Gatling DTO would then distribute the illegal controlled substances primarily within the Eastern District of Missouri at higher prices in order to make cash profit on the sale of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamines, and marijuana and to other persons for further distribution consumptions, right? The plea agreement itself outlines some of the different roles that Gibbs, Terrence Black Morgan, Andre Rush, and Timothy Rush, the roles that they played in the agreement that included the storage and distribution of the narcotics to all and by all defendants, but Gatling also in relation to Morgan. Morgan managed a separate distributor named Nephew. And I'll touch on that as we go through, but there's a sub distributor basically that was managed by Terrence Black Morgan. With regard to the specific events of the conspiracy, the evidence would show that Mr. Gatling actively sought to negotiate with sources of supply of illegal narcotic outside the St. Louis area during the course of the judicially authorized monitoring calls and other communications from telephones used by Mr. Gatling. Investigators learned that Gatling was obtaining methamphetamines, heroin, cocaine, and marijuana from Fidel Suarez, that's by Tammy. On October 12, 2012, there is a series of text messages that were intercepted between devices utilized by Mr. Gatling and Suarez. That's after they get the wiretap interceptions from Tammy's affidavits, and they bug in Cuffy's phone, and his phone becomes target telephone number one. In the electronic text messages were coded portions which outlined the negotiation for shipments of multiple pound quantities of methamphetamines from Suarez to Gatling in St. Louis, and discussion about the shipment of other types of drugs. Among those, there's discussions as set out in the plea agreement at page 19 and 10. Let me know, from Suarez to Gatling, let me know if you want to mess with the shutters. Hey, bro. Need the shutters, go cards, Suarez. That's Gatling's reply. Suarez responds, are you sure? Give me a number. A number, what I'm getting. Are you guys on a roll with it? Cards, you think? And there's some code, but some direct references. Gatling responded, we can do a lot, but they sell for 13. It says 1,300 ounce. That's 1,300 per ounce. Suarez responds, give me a price whole. Same size like the first one. One turnaround time. Same size like first. These are references of their pre-existing relationship. At the fifth line, 5620, Suarez says, need an answer. At 5621, Gatling says, we'll make $20,900. How much will you give me? Gatling says 3 to 4 days. Suarez replies, need an answer. Gatling says, I'll give you $16,000 a pound. Suarez replies, 16 for the Dodgers. The record should reflect that Suarez, a California, Los Angeles-based source of supply, 16 for the Dodgers, and balanced for the Cards. Gatling replies, "Cool, let's do it." Suarez replies, "Okay." And then, "Are you sure 3 days?" Gatling says, "Let's say no longer than 5 days." Among other things, the intercept supports the conclusion that Gatling and Suarez were discussing pound quantities of methamphetamines, and that Gatling agreed to pay $16,000 per pound. And this is an average price, or was an average price for a pound of methamphetamines in the Midwest in the relevant time frame. There's also allegations to the time of shipment and payment. There's further intercepts where the parties discuss Chinese food, that this is a reference to China white heroin. Gatling and Suarez communicated about landscape. That's a reference to marijuana and it's crazy. In 2012, the defendant Gatling and Gatling DTO received more than 5 kilograms of a mixture of substance containing cocaine from Suarez. More than 1 pound of mixture or substance containing a detectable amount of methamphetamine from Suarez. There are several intercepts detailed in the plea agreement where Gatling communicates with Terrence Morgan. He references other conspirators, including Gibbs, who is referenced as Tall Professor, who is referenced or Timothy Rush, who is referenced as Professor. Gatling explains to Morgan that he would tell Gibbs that Gatling would tell Gibbs that Morgan was looking for him. Morgan asked Gatling if he discussed with Gibbs as far as us working together on the job site. Gatling said he had talked to him, and Morgan said that all I'm trying to do now is just keep working. Gatling said that he had talked to him, and Morgan said that all I'm trying to do now is just keep working on the job site. A job site is a reference to Morgan's continued drug distribution efforts at his residence on Gravois Street in Gravois in the city of St. Louis, from which Morgan routinely distributed illegal controlled substances on behalf of Gatling DTO. In October 2012, Gatling was intercepted in numerous coded drug-related conversations with Morgan, in which Morgan related various events of the conspiracy to Gatling, including the status of payment by other distributors in the Gatling DTO, such as Nephew. Gatling and Morgan routinely referred to the illegal narcotic as paint, referencing it as old paint or new paint. They also discussed debts owed by other conspirators, including Professor Tim Rush, Dirty Andre Rush, and Morgan routinely distributed methamphetamines for the conspiracy. So they was getting work from this guy, Morgan. There are other communications that are relevant where Gatling is advising Gibbs that other conspirators are looking for him. And these are also detailed in the plea agreement. The intercepts are illustrative of Gatling's role as the leader in the conspiracy and the coordinator. There's surveillance conducted throughout the investigation. In addition to the Title III intercepts, the surveillance included placing Gatling at the residence of Andre Rush in the 3600 block of Phillip Street in St. Louis with the other conspirators, including Morgan, Timothy Rush, and Andre Rush. Gatling later met with Gibbs on one of the specific instances. There were 2 reverse operations conducted by the Drug Enforcement Administration. In this case, I told y'all about that earlier. Gatling attempted to acquire 2 kilograms of heroin from a purported cartel source of supply in Memphis, Tennessee on February 8th of 2013. Gatling attempted to acquire the 15 kilograms of cocaine because he said that they forced him to get that because the first drugs got seized. Then he said, the Mexican people looking for you. The defendants at the time were unaware that Gatling had arranged for the deliveries with an undercover law enforcement officer. So this is Timothy and them. They didn't know that Gatling told them to go get the work, but this nigga was it was a police. Gatling believed that he was negotiating the deliveries with the cartel affiliated source of supply, as detailed in the plea agreement. And remember, I think that he was introduced by this person by CS2, I think, by another confidential informant. some people are making an argument online to say that the person that he's saying is the Mexican, the person that he's saying that he got plugged in by Meech and by Tammy, this person is basically the officer. Someone was saying like this person was an agent, and this agent was introduced to him by, he says, by Meech and Tammy, but some people are saying like I'm gonna let it go down there. I'm just gonna read down there because it just says like some people are saying like it's more to the agent that conversation right there that he's having about, they say like he's being untruthful about something about that agent that he was introduced to by, I think, CS2 or something like that, or whatever the case may be. So there's some questions in that some people are as well posing. So, just putting it out there. But we will, as we read down the paperwork, if you feel something different, let us know. Boom. So as detailed in the plea agreement on page 13, Gatling met with the undercover investigator on February 4th of 2013 in Atlanta, Georgia, to arrange the delivery of 2 kilograms of heroin for Gatling Drug Trafficking Organization. The heroin was, of course, bound for Eastern District of Missouri. During the initial recorded meeting, Gatling made a number of statements that are detailed in the plea agreement that indicate the knowledge and intent of the prowess of the drug dealer. He was asked to investigate. He asked the investigator, "Do you do tar or white?" Which is a reference to brown heroin or white heroin. The UC, the undercover, said he could provide brown, and Gatlin stated that's perfect. Gatlin explained that he could do 2 or 3 bricks a week if the quality was good, referencing the quality of heroin, each brick being a kilogram, of course. Gatlin explained that we specialize in cocaine. We used to doing hundreds, man. Were among his quotes. What that was among his quotes. He also stated that I can move a lot of H. H was his reference for heroin. Defendant Gatlin explained that I'ma do a whole H a day if it's good. That's a reference to distributing an entire kilogram a day. Gatlin stated words to the effect that he had buyers with money to buy 500. That's a reference to buyers that could buy 500 grams or half a kilo of heroin and 250 grams. Gatlin, toward the end of the meeting, explained that this has been a beautiful trip. This is what I've been looking for, man. Crazy, bro. He said that this is what I've been looking for, man. A damn indictment. Crazy. Set up by Cromer. Cromer's doing this to him, too. He's saying he's just unaware. Damn, man. Gatlin is crazy, bro. On February 7th, agents conducted a reverse operation in which Gatlin enlisted Tim Rush and Lorenzo Gibb to meet with a purported cartel source in Memphis area to exchange Gatlin's Toyota Camry for the Cadillac. The Toyota Camry had 120,000 miles on it. They don't say it there, but I read other paperwork. I'm reading all kinds of paperwork. But the Cadillac Estate equipped with the secret compartment containing supposedly 2 kilograms. Was it 2 keys? You know? It was fake keys anyway, so it probably was no keys in there. The terms were that the heroin would be provided or fronted at a price of $55,000 a keys. That's why I said he had the $110,000 that he owed plus the $60,000 Escalade when Tim got bagged. The officer came back like, "Yo, bro, what you talking about? Yo, that's my car, and yo, you got to pay that back. Yo, the Mexican cartel's looking for that. Yo, you got to make something. Yo, give me $5,000. Give me a car. Give me something. Nah, all right, cool. So, all right, we gonna front you these 10 more bricks, man. Take these. Bang. All right, cool, man. Now you got an indictment for 17 bricks. Boom. That's how Cuffy said it happened. Providing the Camry as collateral. Timothy Rush and Lorenzo Gibb made the trip to Memphis on November 7th. They met with the undercover. Both Timothy Rush and Gibbs declined instructions on how to open the compartment and stated that they would get instructions on how to open the trap when they returned to St. Louis. They was like, "Nah, man, I'm good, man. I don't need to know all that." Went so much so Gibbs said, "Yo, let me get a ride to the airport," or some shit like that. They was like, "Nah." The agents is like, "Nah." During the evening hours of February 7, 2013, Missouri Highway Patrol investigators stopped Timothy Rush on Interstate 55 just south of Sykeston. Timothy Rush put the phone on speaker on the speaker function. This was ostensibly, this was to notify, bro, he tried to hit up Gatling, and it's indicative of the experience level of the conspirators. So he already just had his phone on speaker so that they could hear, Gatling could hear that he's getting bagged. So you already know. He ain't had to make a call. He ain't had to do nothing. You just already know, yo, I'm bagged, bro. Because look, man, he sent him down there and they booking him. So he like, yo, this is crazy. Defendant Gatling later that evening contacted the undercover and stated the words to the effect that, yo, that he hoped, he meaning Gatling, hoped the compartment was tight. Gatling also stated that Timothy Rush was solid, longtime guy. So on February 18th of 2013, there was a second transaction that culminated on February 18th. This is the time that purported negotiation for the 15 kilograms of cocaine. During the course of the communication, as detailed on page 15 of the plea agreement, Gatling reassured the undercover by stating, I'll tell you what, if you get me that mother F man, you'll be happy. You know what I mean? If you get this mother F man, you can get it in there. I can make that up, brother. He can make up the money. I can make that bread up. First time you in here, I can make that up. You just send your guy down here. I'll put them up. He can just sit and wait, man. You know, like he'll just pay up the money, just send the work, whatever the case, and I'll flip it, man. I'll just do what I got to do to send you, man. Just make him chill for a couple of days. I'm going to get the money. And here, of course, Gatling was referencing his ability to move loads of narcotics quickly. Gatling on February 14th of 2013 stated to the undercover, I need that other thing, brother. I need it bad. Y'all got to get it in here one time, brother. The second deal was for 15. The other thing was 15 kilograms of cocaine. But Gatling prior deal also stated that I was trying to get back on the H page. That's the heroin. When the UC inquired regarding the quantity, he said, I'm asking how many you going to need. Gatling replied, shit, bro, all you can give me. The other thing that was previously referenced and the H page was referenced to the heroin. On February 18th of 2013, the investigator conducted a reverse operation, which detailed on page 15 and 16, which the undercover purported commercial truck driver. The undercover was a truck driver that they had, man. He was also a truck driver as well to deliver the load. So Timothy Rush had contact with the undercover and they arranged for the meeting at the Hampton Inn in the vicinity of the Butler Hill Road on the Interstate 55. And the task officer arrived at the Hampton Inn. He also observed Lorenzo operating a white Chevrolet Impala, who appeared to be conducting a canvass of the area before Gibbs parked at a gas station in the area where he could overlook the parking lot at the Hampton. Rush arrived, met the task force officer, who he thought was a drug dealer. Rush was in the process of approaching the task officer to take the possession of the large duffel bag as he was taken into custody. So he was going to get the bag, and when he was going to take the bag, niggas took him. Bang. Investigator contacted and detained Gibbs because, I mean, Gibbs was walking off somewhere by IHOP, and they then went back, double back on Gibbs, went and bagged him. The investigators were also on a judicially authorized wiretap at the time in which they monitored conversations later that evening between Andre Rush and defendant Gatling. Andre Rush coordinated a meeting. He coordinated communications to Gatling with the events that happened regarding to the detention of his brother and Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? Timothy Rush is his brother. As set forth in the plea agreement on page 16, agents conducted surveillances of Starbucks in the vicinity of Grand Avenue, Highway 440, at which the time they observed Gatling arrived in an SWV type vehicle. Gibbs arrived in the same white Impala that he had been driving in a reverse operation. Gibbs and Gatling exited their vehicles and walked back to the back of the building and had a brief meeting. They quickly returned to their vehicles and Gatling drove off. The investigators terminated surveillance as so not to jeopardize the investigation. The parties have an agreement as to the relevant conduct in this case, that the conspiracy of the amount of controlled substances in the conspiracy attributable
All my niggas turn shooters. All my ops turn racks.